Hello there, tuned into Smart 24 TV. It's 9 o'clock and you're right in time for business today with me, Rona Nahabwe, together with Winnie Wiyinza Nakauchi for the sign language interpretation. Before we hit the road, here's a quick look at our top stories. In business today, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, STAR agree embark on digital warehouse receipt system as traditional system comes short on delivery. And JICA offers Uganda Electricity Transition Company $5 million equipment to effect efficiency and carve out shortage. More in business today, Uganda Africa Observe Anti-Corruption Day. Inspectorate tags annual corruption loss at over 10 trillion shillings. You're welcome once again to Business Today. I'm Rona Nahabwe. Now to kick it off with warehouse receipt system, in joint efforts to tackle the numerous challenges faced by farmers, Uganda Cooperative Alliance and STAR Agree have in emphasis floated the digital warehouse receipt system, a shift from the traditional system to avail comprehensive support and collective marketing, access to finance, better market prices, among other concerns. With the sector still fighting to carve out such challenges at the back of the less compelling policies, the development has been observed as a potential transition tool. Naomi Mutumba reports.
Challenges in the agriculture sector have in part been attributed to less binding agro-policies. Despite the warehouse receipt system having been rooted in the National Development Plan 2, implementation hasn't been at the forefront to date. In a transition move, Uganda Cooperative Alliance and STAR Agree have initiated a digital warehouse receipt system to track market linkage and offer assurance to local agro-producers. Honorable Gume Ngobi, the Minister for Cooperatives, has indicated just how the development is bound to relieve farmers.
Your goods in the store, they will give you a receipt. This is what we call a warehouse. The receipt will be equivalent to money. The receipt is like a land title. So you get your receipt, you have left your 10,000 kilos of maize in a store, in a warehouse, so you get your receipt, you move. Now, when you are stuck financially, you must be able to get this receipt and go to the bank for an advance. So the banks must be able to trust you because they know your maize or your grain is in a warehouse.
And now that we are in a digital era, I want to urge everybody outside there that it is high time that we adopted that digital era, the digital system, because we are left behind.
Despite the National Agriculture Policy offering frameworks for development implementation, just like the National Grain Trade Policy, warehouse receipt system is non-reflective. For the shift to the digital space, farmers anticipate to overcome seasonal limitations to access finance, as agro-commodities are to serve as collateral for loans, carving out lender gaps.
What we are trying to do is to establish an agri-market system in the agri-value chain of Uganda, using cooperatives as the base of the pyramid, as the foundation. And this system is going to ensure that the farmers, the smallholder farmers, get the maximum price realization vis-a-vis today's current scenario. And we would also be able to integrate the banking, financing, and insurance products into the value chain.
It gives us pleasure to realize that our stakeholders are actually beginning to work together. Unions own the storage we've been looking at. We've been working with them, trying to support the standardization of those facilities, sensitizing the farmers about the use of their commodities as collateral, which is a warehouse receipt system. So when at this juncture we get joined by STAR Agree, we know now we are getting more capacity and competence of managing those warehouses. So in another
now we all know what has been happening in the market, where the farmer has been a price taker. And the main reason for this is the information gap. A smallholder farmer does not know what is happening in the market. And because of that, some other actors take advantage of them. But now once they are on this digital platform, then they are able to scan and see what is in the market. If I bring my maize to the store, automatically I get a receipt. It is reflected in the system, and the other actors are able to see what is happening in the system.
Recognizing the significance of these challenges in the agriculture sector, there is hope that the development will provide comprehensive support to farmers. From the Memorandum of Understanding, A strategic framework that encompasses focus on finance, productivity, and price volatilities is presented. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
We now turn our focus to electricity transmission. Infrastructure efficiency has been one of the key considerations in the energy sector. In the same light, Japan International Cooperation Agency has handed over capital development equipment to Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited to support the transmission efficiency at different power stations. UETCL intends to up its capacity and manage power outage as the $5 million equipment promises infrastructure overhaul.
Uganda has enjoyed bilateral relations with Japan over 50 years, cooperating in different infrastructure projects. The need to offer stable energy services with power, a key factor for the growing industry and development. JICA has availed UETCL with equipment that will be piloted in 3 substations selected by the transmission company, including Lugogo, that had its share instituted today, as the project intends to come up with a model outage management system. The model system project at Lugogo is part of the extra donations from the Japanese company to support interconnection of electricity grid, Queensway substation project, and the Kampala Metropolitan Transmission System improvement, all amounting to $205 million. A give or take.
Equator late countries with loan amount of 5.406 billion. It's approximately $65 million. And the Queensway substation improvement project with a grant amount of Japanese yen 2.519 billion, and this was completed and no having Kampala. And the Kampala Metropolitan Transmission System Improvement Project. This is an ODA loan project to which we committed Japanese yen 13.659 billion. It's approximately $120 million. The project will improve the reliability and stability of power supply in Greater Kampala metropolitan area through construction of new substations at Buroba and Mukono, as well as upgrading of Kawara substation and associated transmission.
On top of other donations, a specific donation we are talking about today, which is worth more than $5 million $5 million to us, we appreciate. And that's why I made sure that I come and represent government in appreciation of this grant. I want to assure you, therefore, that we know what we have received. As a Minister of Energy, we are emphasizing 3 things so that we achieve our main objective of supplying reliable and affordable electricity to Ugandans for social and economic transformation. We invest in generation, but generation alone without plans for transmission, evacuation and transmission will not take power to the people for their social economic development. So we invest in transmission. And in transmission, there are systems. There are lines themselves, but there are transformers, there are generators in the substations. There are those systems that we treasure.
The Japanese ambassador to Uganda took the stand to warn the handlers against poor handling and ensure maintenance of the system as the grant is sourced from Japanese taxpayers.
The fund is not from the embassy, it's not from JICA, it's from the taxpayer of Japan. And we want to see all our equipment used for many, many years to come. And I think that now your people has the capability to do that. I hope that everybody will keep this in mind. This is very important.
Infrastructure development has been highly prioritized by government, as attested in the national development provisions. With the growing demand for power across different sectors, the development plan has been considered progress to the cause. Andrew Barije, Rona Nahabwe, Smart 24, Business Today.
Okay, now the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises has undertaken interest to understand why Uganda Revenue Authority carried forward 34.7 billion shillings and spent in 2020, the 2021-2022 financial year without approval from Parliament. According to URA, the Minister of Finance approved the authority to back up the drop and done activities influenced by COVID-19.
The Auditor General's report of 2021-2022 on Uganda Revenue Authority indicates that 34.7 billion shillings have been added to the entity's 534 billion shillings budget that eventually amounted to 568 billion shillings. COSASE has on this background launched inquest into the authority's decision, citing lack of approval from Parliament to spend the quoted funds.
Not say, okay, the budget that we are forwarding to Parliament is of 568 billion. However, do appropriate 534 because we have a balance of 34.7. So looks like you realize later that we have this 34.7. Let's find something to do with it, which you had not planned for, because your budget was 534 billion. How then do you get to want to add another 34.7 billion? Because if you had need for it, my thinking is you should have planned for it and had it included in your budget. So your budget should have been total 568. So what happened there? And then,
according to the Revenue Authority in 2020, some activities were not carried out due to COVID-19. Effectively, the money was unspent. In regard to the failure to seek permission from Parliament, Commissioner John Rujoki Musinguzi confirms having addressed the Finance Ministry and approval was extended.
Everything did not happen at the speed that it was anticipated, whereas in the previous financial year, Parliament had appropriated for us a budget to recruit additional staff. And because we could not easily administer interviews of big numbers, when we sent out the adverts, we got overwhelming responses. And then we could not gather people together to be interviewed. We had to administer online interviews. And the processes took inevitably much longer than anticipated. So there were balances carried forward from that activity of recruitment. Some of it goes to NSSF, others goes directly to the wages. And so these are some of the unutilized resources, which we are now asking the Ministry of Finance to allow us spend on unfunded priorities. They were important, they were submitted, but they had not been allocated funds.
One extra challenge regarded the 1.2 billion shillings that was given to the entity as grant. The committee expressed interest as to why there was non-disclosure to the Auditor General.
There is money which they did not disclose. That's a grant that they received, $333,000 US. That's about 1.2 billion Uganda shillings. Now, when any entity, government entity, receives a grant, they are supposed to declare that money, and it is supposed to be captured as part of their budget, and they forward that to Parliament. They did not do that for that amount, which is problematic as well.
So many recruitment gaps cited by the Auditor General. We want to understand how is recruitment done within URA. We hear people are just handpicked. People pick their relatives. So we want to understand the chronology of recruitment within URA. Similarly, we discovered the billions of money that were not disclosed by URA. They received the money from specifically World Bank, utilized it or used it without approval of Parliament, without appropriation by Parliament, and we want to understand where did they get that authority? Two, what was that money used for? Who shared the money? And it's a bit outrageous.
Ultimately, COSASE has resolved that URA should revert to Parliament tomorrow with proof in writing from the Ministry of Finance regarding the 34.7 billion shillings, as well as the documents pertaining the received grant.
The Ministry of Finance granted them permission. We don't know. We are going to ascertain that. But more important than the Ministry of Finance, Parliament is the one that appropriates money. So you cannot say that because for us we are the ones who collect, so we can keep a lot more.
The investigations into URA continue tomorrow. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV Business Today.
Let's now look at how the cost of corruption continues to bite. While the International Anti-Corruption Day was today, slated for December, Uganda has joined the rest of Africa to commemorate it today as per Maputo Convention provisions. Information from the Inspectorate of Government indicates that Uganda loses close to 10 trillion shillings, translating to 23% of the annual budget to direct or indirect corruption tendencies. Samuel Chirimunda has details.
Uganda loses close to 10 trillion shillings per year. This is about $2.5 billion per year in both direct and indirect corruption. This translates to about 23% of the annual budget of Uganda and 44% of the domestic revenue collected in Uganda. 44% of the taxes collected in Uganda are lost to corruption. As Uganda commemorates the Anti-Corruption Day today, the Inspectorate of Government has made significant steps to mitigate corruption. A total of 375 corruption cases were investigated and completed in local governments from July to December 2022. The Inspectorate of Government also established the Directorate of Special Investigations to investigate high-profile corruption. High-profile in terms of the volumes of money lost or the category of people involved.
So this money was put back to government use through the IG Asset Recovery Account, and that the matter was closed thereafter, and information shared with the complainant, who was the Speaker of Parliament at that time. That is how the matter ended. Deposited it back to government. So now government can use it for other purposes.
All right, now moving on to insecure roads. Road accidents have reportedly been rated at a cost of 5 trillion shillings in annual losses. Currently, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, has strongly come out at back of the fatal accidents where a recent incident claimed the life of the businessman, the late Aponyi. In the same spirit, former Member of Parliament, Charles Gutamoy, who was directed under the Ministry of Works also to implement the road and safety provisions as per the Act.
In the 10th Parliament, the Road and Safety Act was passed into law and further amendment in the 11th Parliament. According to the Speaker of Parliament, government has failed to implement the Act, which would have helped reduce the road fatalities that have reportedly been priced over 5 trillion shillings per year.
Nobody bothered to remove that road. I mean that car. This driver came and knocked the car which was parked on the roadside. And that's how this businessman died. I am ordering the Minister of Works, UNRA, police, to have all the cars parked on the roadsides taken to the police stations at the owner's cost. You cannot have those cars parked on the roadside causing accidents. We are losing people and the owners are not bothered. Just imagine the people we are losing on accidents.
According to the chairperson of the Road Safety Forum, Parliament has passed 5 billion shillings for road safety implementation, and all they need from government is for Finance Ministry to respect Parliament's decision and release the money.
That for the first time, we passed 5 billion for the road safety sector, Ministry of Works, which has never happened before. So we hope that with this support to the Ministry of Works in this coming financial year, and hopefully that the Ministry of Finance will honor, because sometimes we pass this money and the Ministry of Finance, they do not release. But I appeal to the Ministry of Finance, please, for heaven's sake, make sure you give the road safety a priority.
Alex Ruhunda, the Member of Parliament for Fort Portal, says the country loses over 5 trillion shillings to carnages. This has further been worsened by collapse of various enterprises that can't be sustained upon death of proprietors.
All the statistics show that the country loses close between 4.5 to 5 trillion. Now, you can imagine all these people who die on a daily basis. How can we replace them? Look at their experience. Look at the businesses they run. Look at the knowledge they possess for the country. Look at the assets that are destroyed and all the businesses that will die with people who go to the grave because we have not built permanent institutions with a succession policy. That hasn't been part of our culture. So there is.
The legislators have cautioned Ministry of Works to fasten the implementation of the law in remedy to the relentless crisis.
We spent 2 years, Right Honourable Speaker, making that law. The implementers have failed us. Much as money is an issue, Right Honourable Speaker, the law is very, very clear. But you pass a road, you find a vehicle that has broken down, they are repairing in the middle of the vehicle, and you have to find your way in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road, you have to maneuver and find your way out. Right Honourable Speaker, even in the law, it's clear who is responsible to meet the cost of towing that vehicle away.
Works and Transport State Ministers assured Parliament of having heeded to the calls over implementation.
We have taken your guidance and directive. We solicit again with UNRA, Uganda Police and the Ministry of Works and Transport to see how we can work on these problems. Then finally we shall bring a comprehensive statement to this House for further guidance. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Sam Lanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Market traders in Kampala are enduring a persistent power outage which has now lasted a week. Cause has been attributed to a substantial debt about 1 billion owed to Umeme as damage reported by traders dealing in perishable products such as fish, meat, chicken and soft drinks. Kampala Capital City Authority has ultimately been blamed for failing to fulfill its obligations amid its order to resolve this crisis. Let's have a look.
The week-long power outage has left market traders in a dire situation as perishable commodity traders express risk of spoilage and ultimate loss. Blackout has affected refrigeration systems and other essential equipment, forcing traders to distress. Engaging with some of the vendors, the inability to preserve key products has severely impacted their ability to meet customer demands and maintain their businesses.
Bamaze ewiki namba abana masanyalazi naye abasuubuzi balina obulumi bungi bongo olw'ensonga bo beebuuza lwaki babajjeko amasanyalazi.
Traders have spent a week without electricity, but these traders have so much pain because they are wondering why they don't have electricity, yet they pay their tariffs. Every end of the month, they are only given 2 days. Then the market masters start collecting the money. We don't have electricity, and we don't know who to tell to help us, because it just happened abruptly, and the power went off. And later we have that our market has a big debt, yet we have our own meters, and we pay for them.
Umeme netulaga bill zonna twakoma okusasula okiriyalinga 2022 December.
We went to Umeme and they gave us a list of all the bills indicating when we last made a payment in December 2022. And from then, they say we have not made any payment. Yet when KCCA came in and gave us accounts where we have to pay from, and everyone started depositing money on them, approximately 300,000 every month. The power outage, which has persisted for an extended period, has pushed the patience of market traders to its limits. Dealing with the challenges of operating without electricity and suffering significant financial losses due to the spoilage of perishable products, they have decided to task KCCA with taking immediate action.
Alina okubuuzibwa ekintu kino ajja kuba Iddi wa Kampala gwe mutwe omukulu Madamu Kisaka abeerenga atufaako.
The one to be questioned about this situation is the KCCA Executive Director. Let her start feeling for the traders by finding out why such situations are happening, because it's our team that we pay taxes to.
Ekisooka abatutwala bassaawo gap wakati waffe be batwala
The current market leaders created a gap between us and them. And we don't know who is going to close that gap, because they always do what they want.
In response to the mounting concerns and economic losses faced by the traders, Salimo Uhuru, the Central Division Mayor, has taken a decisive action and tasked KCCA to promptly resolve the crisis.
As the Mayor of Kampala Central Division, I want to take this opportunity to send my apologies to the market vendors, especially those of Nakasero Market, those of Owino Market and Osafi Market. It's very unfortunate to see today KCCA has failed to come up and pay the market dues, because that is our mandate, as KCCA was supposed to render services to our taxpayers and especially the vulnerable. The President came out very clearly, I was in that meeting, and made it very clear. I do not know what is delaying it. Every musubizi, every vendor who is operating a fridge or these machines, pounding machines or a juice machine, is supposed to be put a meter, Yaka meter by umeme. I expected that was the longest serving solution in the markets. But up to now, nothing has happened.
As the traders await response from KCCA, restoration of electricity to the markets holds the key to reactivating local businesses and fostering economic growth for low-income earners. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Business Today will now take a short commercial break, but it will return in a bit. Stick around.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel, so visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
Smart 24, driving business.
You're welcome once again from that short commercial break. You are still watching Business Today with me, Rona Nahabwe. Now, the Ministry of ICT together with ICDL Foundation have agreed on a mainstreaming developing following a memorandum of understanding to blend the market with evolving information technology. With digital penetration in Uganda currently rated at 30%, the population of the employable digital skills is a major gap, and they intend to equip the growing labor force.
Following an MOU between the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and ICDL Foundation, a digital skilling initiative for secondary schools has been rolled out to enable students gain relevant digital skills for what promises to be a digitized workforce in the near future. The efficient and accessible emergence of smartphones and simple computing devices has put the global economy to a direction embracing technology with artificial intelligence and machine learning, digital marketplaces, remote working, and digital data taking the center stage. According to the World Bank, the digital economy accounts for 15% of the global GDP and is projected to grow to 30% by 2030 as the global workforce is projected to shift to a deskless model with the growth in digital economy ratio to GDP. While stakeholders raise concern that the current ICT education in secondary and tertiary institutions is not meeting the rapidly changing needs of the future, Michael Niitegeka, the country director of ICDL Africa, simply points out to the lack of infrastructure.
Access to infrastructure is still a burden. And we can't fail to appreciate and recognize efforts that have been done by entities like Uganda Communications Commission, where you have about close to 1,000 secondary schools that have been able to benefit from an infrastructure support where you have computer labs being set up. But for the ordinary citizen, it's still a big problem. It's still a big burden.
He also added that whereas the new taxes on digital platforms in this 2023-2024 financial year is not a negative step, government should lower barrier to entry for new mobile device users to enable a larger tax base.
The technocrats need to see the value that if I subsidize or if I bring down the tax component on access to devices, it significantly increases the number of people that are able to access, and that then has an impact on the tax component as well, on the other hand. But I'm also sure you are aware, or we are aware, that now government is taxing the Google, Facebook, or Meta, Zoom, any digital platform that is making money into this country.
Damian O'Sullivan, the CEO ICDL International, implored the government to act fast in participating in building a competent generation for the 21st century, as these digital skills are already benefiting the current trainers.
Common with many African countries, there's a move towards a digital economy. The leadership in Uganda looking at Uganda being a digital economy requires investment, number one, in people. Number two, in fiber, in systems. But the most important part is people. For Uganda, what it's losing is time. This is a sector that develops rapidly, and there is a need from industry, from private sector, from investors for a skilled workforce.
The ICDL, which is an internationally recognized digital skills standard, already has 30 digital skills accreditation centers in Uganda, including in Gulu University, Nkumba University, Isbat University, 20 teacher training institute for instructors, and so far passed out 2,000 trainees with international accreditation. The newly rolled out program has begun in international schools with the setup of ICDL clubs and training, but shall expand to secondary schools, tertiary institutions, and the general public. Beneficiaries of the initiative expressed benefits inculcated by the training.
This skill set, I was able to make a way to earn money during the holidays. In our schools, we are required to give internship reports, whereby during the holidays a student goes and interacts with society and gets a job and works as an intern, with or without pay, just to get the working experience.
This program has really helped me as a student. I wasn't so much involved with computers, but now I am so passionate about it. I love doing, my favorite program is actually Excel and PowerPoint, and I really like it because it helps me. I'm able to help my parents with their work. And
government workforce assessment and upskilling in this 5 years collaborative effort is also on table, as government focuses on installing efficient e-services, e-recepting, and e-data. Genne Daniel, Nahabwe Rona, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
The global population is projected to hit 8 billion mark in 2030. For Africa, as the world marks Population Day and its rising numbers currently over 1 billion, focus has been shifted to addressing numbers as an opportunity for socio-economic transformation, with 70% of the population in the active labor force bracket. Take a look.
As the world celebrates Population Day, highlighting major challenges such as inequality, unemployment, and service inefficiencies, advantages to the growing population can't be underestimated. Of the world's over 8 billion people, Africa's 1.4 billion is characterized by a young and potent number. According to Thisti Amare, Deputy Director of the Africa Program at Chatham House, the rising population should simply be taken for benefit other than a burden, with 70% of Africans under the age of 30.
70% of Africans are under the age of 30. And this is happening while many of the developed world, the developed nations, are experiencing a rapidly aging population. Population growth is, of course, partly explained by improvement in level and access to public health that has led to decrease in child mortality. And that by itself is good news. And the other good news is that also by having a young population, most African nations do not have the burden of a large elderly population that relies on taxes and pensions, which can be a strain on the economy as well.
And planned population growth remains a big development challenge to many countries. Major efforts are currently channeled towards economic and trade policies to facilitate trade and positive balance of payments. For example, according to Amare, reliance on raw material exports such as extractives, oil and gas, for instance, minerals and agricultural products, needs to be revised.
There's a lot of dynamism coming from the continent, a lot of innovation, a lot of young people working in tech are thinking of solutions, climate smart solutions. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya. So the young people are responding and thinking about climate-related issues and how that can be mitigated through innovation and thinking ahead a lot faster than the older generation and that are still in leadership at the moment.
Amid this population growth, bigger opportunities presented through wider continental markets are yet to be harnessed, especially with the disjointed policies on trade, movement and communication.
All right, we've come to the end of business today, but before I officially sign out, here's a quick look at what made the top stories. In business today, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, Star agree embark on digital warehouse receipt system as traditional system comes short on delivery. And JICA offers Uganda Electricity Transmission Company $5 million equipment to effect efficiency and carve out shortage. More in business today, Uganda Africa observe Anti-Corruption Day. Inspectorate tags annual corruption loss at over 10 trillion shillings. And that's all we had for you today on Business Today. Thank you for your kind attention. I'm Rona Nahabwe, together with Winnie Wins and Nakawachi for the sign language interpretation. I would like to implore you to watch on our YouTube channel any of these stories in case you picked interest, and follow on our social media platforms, Twitter to be specific, to be up to date with the latest business news within the region. For the entire team that has been part of this live broadcast, I thank you and you have a good night.